I've been half dreading this from the very beginning when I said, oh, let's try and have some wrap-up comments. And after such an intense pressure cooker process, really, I'm almost dreading it a little bit more. There's a huge amount of information, opinions, and ideas received in the last few hours. But I think it's very positive. I think also it shows how motivating the issue is and how much people want to work together. Time and again, I've been struck by the desire in the room for people to really integrate, to work together to solve things. When maybe a few years back, we would have all been sat in different corners of the room saying, well, private sector, I wish they would do something, and if we're even together. So I think it's a very motivating meeting. What I wanted to reflect upon, we said this was a kickoff, this was a launch event. We would like ourselves and WBCSD, probably the city of Rotterdam, to take a campaign through the year on this issue to coincide a bit with other processes such as the International Year for Water Cooperation, etc. It's a good moment to really give the issue a lot of profile. So I tried to reflect a little bit away from the detailed technical discussions we've had onto what we've heard and how that might contribute to a campaign. I'm then going to throw the microphone to Jane and Joppe to say a few words on how they think we might go forward after that. So to react a little bit what I'm saying and to what they've heard. When we set out, I was imagining actually we'd get a lot more people coming with, well, I've got this initiative and I'd like you to know about it. What I've been struck by is that we've had a lot of new ideas, actually, a desire to go into a new direction to try and achieve impact. And I think that's really encouraging as well. People see the need for something new to make a change. I think that's got to be a key part of what we try to nurture through this campaign, as well as profiling good practice and projects that already exist. I think we've got to try and catalyze somehow some of the really good ideas that have come out into really taking form. And already, I think, from the panel, you already hear people are intending to do things, but we want to know, I think, a bit from you, how we can really nurture this in the next year. And I've sort of come with a little, I must say some of the discussions have been quite excellent. Above my head, I must say, is someone from an environmental background, but a simple model of how this is all working and what we're talking about. And it strikes me that we're talking about influencing really the drivers of change here, the investors, the business which are really out there doing things and having an effect upon the environment, and we want them to really capitalize upon it more and nurture it more. We have these organizations represented here, and they're very strongly interested to engage. We've had also convening and brokering organizations who want to connect with business, who want to connect with investors to try and improve the way the world works, to improve the environment, and bring win-wins to both business and to society as a whole. They're here, and they have a role really to convene and broker. But the key to all this seems to be the business case. The table one really came with a nice trajectory to take projects' outputs forward to the business community and to influence the drivers. And I think that's what we really have to do through the campaign. And if I listen to what has come out of it, and if I capture one of the phrases that came from, I think, table 4 there, I think we need to try and move from islands of success to oceans of scale. I think it really captures what we're talking about a lot. And our campaign has to achieve that. So I've got several sort of notes of what I think the campaign could focus upon. I think we have a lot of people who are going to be doing things already. There are projects on the ground, there's initiatives running. How can we add value? So we need to influence through networks. I think this was a comment that came there from Stefan in his presentation. We need to see as a campaign how we can engage with and influence existing, not necessarily really to start new networks, but influence existing networks who will influence the thinking of business, investment, and so forth. We need projects showing why and how, and I think we already have several scattered around the room that are going to take place in places. I've heard Iraq, I've heard Kenya, I've heard the Zambezi River, I've heard the Niger River, I've heard the Rhine River. We've got a lot of places we can profile and show how to do things. So I think we have to give them visibility and share them through the campaign. A lot's been said that we need ambassadors. I think we are ambassadors. I think we have to take that on our shoulders. But I think we also have to identify the real key ambassadors we want to take the initiative forward. And perhaps as a group, perhaps as a campaign, we can try to do that. I think we need to demystify things. As in different ways, many people have referred to, we need translation of knowledge, we need a new language, we need to build the capacity of people to understand. I think we have to, and indeed Table 1 also said, we need to put all this different language into a way that the business community understands. So I think also this campaign should think about, well, how do we do that? How can we add to translating, bringing the message over in a clear, understandable way? In line with Danke, I think we need to stimulate surprising partnerships. I don't have a clear idea how we might do that through the campaign, but I would like to know a little bit from Joppe, Jane, maybe other people, how we might do that. We have a whole year to work. We have a number of meetings. Meetings can be there to stand there and look and say some nice words, or they can really contribute to stimulating new and innovating partnerships. We could do this. And we also need to make knowledge available. This is another key point that I think a campaign could stimulate. So that's all I want to say, to be honest. It's first reactions. I hope you all appreciate it. It's got a lot of information to distill into something concretely, and we, the conveners, all want to try and reflect a bit and come forward with a true agenda for action, but I think these would be the main points. But maybe I could throw the microphone to Jane or Joppe to react and reflect.
It's very kind of you. No, my reflection is that when we started 2 months ago with this initiative, we knew this was not going to be an end today. We're just starting something. My only observation of today is, and I know that it's very generic, is that we should, in this campaign, focus on natural water infrastructure. There's a tendency to broaden the discussion, and also we have to avoid that some of the suggestions, ideas which came forward actually have probably another natural place. I mean, if we talk about reporting, if we're talking about incorporating externalities in finance, I think there are some initiatives already outside which are ongoing in that direction. So what we should be doing is actually making sure that those who raise that are connected to those initiatives, and we not necessarily make them the core of what we want to achieve. And I think it's, you know, the summary is great, and I noticed when we looked at the feedback, this table was very diligent in assigning an action party to whatever we wrote down. And I saw that a few others were not so diligent, and they were saying things, and I hope it means that we all hear that we be part of it. So don't worry, we know what you said, so we come back to you, at least if that's in agreement with you. But we will have to build, a campaign is not built around 2 or 3 or 4 people here in this room who carry this. It's built by everybody here in this room. And from here, we have to move it outside. And that's a bit what you said about ambassadors. We all are ambassadors in that particular way. I assume otherwise you wouldn't be here, because that's the reason why I'm here, is that green infrastructure for water, I believe personally, is very important. It can really be effective in driving the supply side and the quality side of water in river basins. But how do you make this happen? How do we collectively make this happen is what we have to do. So that is my reflection, not more detailed than Chris. It's just, I think, a great start, but don't lose the momentum which we have generated today, which is lots of energy in the room. We couldn't understand each other on this table because there was so much noise at the other tables. So that's good, that's great. So we harvest that, we should harvest that and move that forward. And now with great pleasure I give it to Jane, because she's the leader in all of that. She started it, so Jane.
I realised that. Okay, thank you, Joppe. My comments may be a little bit similar, but first I would say I'm very impressed how easily the conversation went. And whilst we have put quite a mix of different kinds of people from different institutions with different interests together, I didn't see much difficulty in understanding each other or in connecting with each other's ideas. So I find that in itself incredibly encouraging. Before I came into this event, I had a very simplistic framework of what kinds of gaps we might need to address, and simply 3 kinds: the institutional gaps, the information gaps, and the investment gaps. And I'm very happy listening to the proposals coming forward that in each of those, under each of those headings, we already have some very specific proposals, some almost ready projects that you could start to move forward almost tomorrow. And we also have some more concepts and thinking around those topics which perhaps need further development. But I think we've very easily collected a whole set of ideas under those headings. So, well, I'm someone who really is keen to see something happen as a result of these kind of meetings. So, in the same line as Joppe said, I think we would ask for your permission to come back to you, those who actually put proposals forward, once we think we've captured the idea from the conversation today, to test it back with you and shape it a little further so that it really becomes a concept that could be taken forward into action. But I think we are only a small subset of those who are involved in this topic, and we also need to create another agenda, which is how to make a ripple effect through our different networks, whether we're working in a city, the government, private sector, NGOs, research institutions. We have enormous access between us to a number of other fora and platforms who, if they're not already interested in this topic, they ought to be. So what I ask you all to do is to really think of the opportunities, particularly this year, since we have this particular flavour to the year. How can you use your networks, the platforms, the meetings you're involved in, to bring this agenda to attention and create more ripples? And as a campaign team, if I can call us that, we will help to capture the impact of all of those actions, and hopefully then in a year's time be able to show that we actually made a big difference in the space of 1 year. So that's our commitment. I think although we didn't have a chance to confer, Joppe and I are pretty much on the same line. And we hope also the city of Rotterdam will use its own networks to take these messages forward. And beyond that, the institutions that are here. So this has been a very effective dialogue. Thank you for that. But it is just the start. And I look very much forward to the next steps and actually being able to show some real action from all these great ideas. Thank you.